Werewolves only shed before the first full moon, before the curse has completely consumed them.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, where I cover vampires, werewolves, and other supernatural creatures. In this video, we're going to look at the werewolf curse from the 2004 movie Van Helsing, one of my favorites. The movie stars Hugh Jackman, Kate Beckinsale, who you might know from Underworld, Robbie Coltrane, David Wenham, who I know from 300, and finally Richard Roxburgh as Dracula. Some people dislike his version of Dracula, but I love it. It's theatrical and over the top in all the right ways, with him still being an intimidating villain. He also played the character named M in The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which I recently covered. Today we are focusing on Van Helsing. I've done a video explaining the full timeline of the movie, but this time I want to focus specifically on the werewolves, where the curse came from, the turning process, their abilities, and more. If you enjoy videos about werewolves and other supernatural creatures, leave a like and subscribe for new videos every week. Let's get started and talk about some of the best looking Lycans in cinema. Let's start off with the first werewolf we meet in the film. A brother and sister named Velkin and Anna Valerius are trying to capture a werewolf that's terrorizing their town in Transylvania. They set up a trap for the creature and Velkin uses himself as bait. This werewolf is huge, probably 8 to 10 feet tall and extremely agile, able to jump over a dozen feet through the air no problem. They manage to get the werewolf trapped in the cage, but Anna cannot find the gun with silver bullets. Probably would have been a good idea to give everyone silver bullets considering you're hunting a werewolf. This also lets us in on the werewolf's first weakness. Regular bullets seem to do nothing to the creature and it heals almost immediately. One thing I have mentioned in my previous videos is when the werewolf is shot, it bleeds neon green blood. I'm not sure why the werewolf has green blood and it's never mentioned. I'm also 99% sure this is the only time we see a werewolf bleed while in wolf form. The trap malfunctions and the werewolf is able to break out of the cage. Velkin is ultimately bitten by the wolf, but also manages to kill it by shooting it with a silver bullet. It shook off around 100 normal bullets like nothing happened, but one silver bullet is all it took. The identity of this werewolf is never revealed. He is never seen in human form, and he's never mentioned again. For all we know, he could have been hundreds of years old. Velkin appeared to be killed by the werewolf, but he reappears once Van Helsing arrives in town. Van Helsing has been sent to help the Valerius family kill Dracula. Their ancestor may have made an oath to God that his family would kill Dracula or they would not be granted passage into heaven. So currently a bunch of their ancestors are stuck in purgatory because of this one guy's promise. If he wanted to kill Dracula, that's fine, but he didn't have to drag his whole family bloodline into it. Anyway, once Van Helsing arrives, Dracula sends Velkin to see if it really is the great Van Helsing. You might ask, why would Velkin be working with Dracula if they were trying to kill him? Well, I need to explain the connection between Dracula and werewolves, and the ultimate question of how they were created. The werewolf that bit Velkin was a slave to Dracula. In fact, all werewolves are slaves to Dracula. For some reason, once someone is turned into a werewolf, they cannot help themselves but obey his commands. They can resist for a while, but eventually they will completely succumb to Dracula's will. The vampire curse was created when Vladislas Dracula made a deal with the devil. He was granted supernatural abilities at the cost of his soul, and he would need to feed on blood. So to sum it all up, the vampire curse was created by the devil, and vampires have control over werewolves. That leads me to believe that the werewolf curse was also created by the devil.
In 1462, when Dracula died, he made a covenant with the devil.
Not all vampires have control over werewolves, just Dracula. There's also another unique connection between Dracula and the werewolves. The bite of a werewolf is the only thing that can kill Dracula. The fact that they are so interconnected means their creation has to be linked in some way. It's also a possibility that Dracula created the werewolf curse himself. He seems to have an obsession with creating life, so it's not out of the question. However, I doubt he would create a monster that is literally the only thing that can kill him. It seems more likely the devil would do something like that. Now that we have the mystery of how they were possibly created out of the way, how long does it take to turn into a werewolf? We get some confusing information in the beginning of the movie, but I think the best example to look at is Gabriel's transformation. The true answer is it varies from person to person. After Gabriel is bitten, Carl informs him that the transformation will not be complete until the first full moon at the strike of midnight. In Gabriel's case, this gave him a few days before he would fully turn. As the full moon draws closer, Gabriel begins to show more signs of the wolf trying to break through. Increased strength and agility, outbursts of anger, and even minor shapeshifting, like his body is trying to change. During this time, he was able to bend these iron bars with his bare hands. He could also jump dozens of feet into the air while holding 2 people. Once the full moon is out, Gabriel turns into his wolf form, which seems to be bigger than the first werewolf and Velkin, much more muscular. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. These werewolves look so good. Underworld is mostly practical with some CGI. Van Helsing is full CGI, and it still impresses me to this day. When the full moon is out, Gabriel will change into his wolf form. But if the moon becomes covered in any way, like by clouds, he will revert back to human form. The same thing happens to Velkin in the beginning of the movie. Gabriel is able to turn quite quickly, making a near instant transformation in one case. Velkin, on the other hand, has a much slower turning process. As the curse takes over, he climbs up the wall backwards and begins to tear off chunks of his own skin, revealing fur underneath. He yells and rolls around in pain as his bones grow and shift until he's twice the size of a normal human. When transforming back into a human, he pulls off his wolf fur to reveal human skin underneath, so the complete reverse. The acting of Will Kemp really helped sell the loss of control when the werewolf turns. When Velkin begins to turn, he tells Anna to run. This is because when someone turns into a werewolf, they have very limited control. They would kill their best friend if they got in their way. When Gabriel turns into a werewolf, he has enough willpower to keep fighting Dracula, but he still accidentally kills the woman he was falling in love with, so the control only goes so far. The fact that Gabriel was able to fight against Dracula while in wolf form at all shows he has extremely strong willpower. Even before the stroke of midnight, Velkin could not go against Dracula while in his wolf form. These werewolves are pretty much unkillable aside from Silver. Super strong, agile, increased senses, immortality, but there's something unique about this werewolf species. Once midnight strikes on your first full moon, you are not only a servant to Dracula, but you'll be stuck in wolf form forever. The first werewolf we see in the movie is in wolf form, and it's in the middle of the day. The same goes for Velkin once his transformation is complete. We never see them in human form again.
Dracula! He has a cure to remove the curse of the werewolf!
During the final portion of the film, we find out that there's a cure for the werewolf curse. Because Dracula's only weakness is a bite of the werewolf, he had to create a cure in case one ever turned against him. Nothing is said about who exactly created the cure. Maybe Dracula had Dr. Frankenstein make the formula. The cure must be used before midnight though, or else it won't work. This is because after midnight, Dracula would have no reason to worry, because the werewolf will be completely under his control. If he can control werewolves, he should have just made a whole army. Let's do a summary of the abilities and weaknesses of these werewolves. For abilities, they are pretty basic, but still impressive. Super strength, agility, healing ability, immortality, and most importantly, the ability to kill Dracula. Werewolves are also the only thing that can harm Dracula. We never see him draw blood once, no matter how gruesome the injury, until he fights Gabriel. A thought I had while making this video is why didn't Dracula just keep a bunch of silver bullets around? Then he could kill any werewolf that tried to rebel, and he wouldn't have to worry about having some special cure locked away in a tower somewhere. I think what makes these werewolves so impressive is their lack of weaknesses. If someone is a fully turned werewolf stuck in wolf form like Velkin, your only option is a silver bullet, because even the cure doesn't work once someone is fully turned. I mean, if you used a bomb and blew him up completely, that would probably work too. It seems like no amount of gunshots or physical damage can kill these Lycans though. If someone is not fully turned, you could consider their unstable transformation a weakness. Even something as simple as cloud cover almost got Gabriel killed. However, once the change is complete, this is no longer an issue. Overall, these werewolves are some of the strongest out there, but they have no control over themselves and you're a servant to Dracula, so it kinda sucks. Now that Dracula is dead and Gabriel is cured, I wonder if that's the end of the werewolf species. Is there werewolves in other parts of the world or just Transylvania? There's another supernatural creature in the movie that interests me, and that's the dwergi. These short creatures with whitish eyes and teeth like a piranha. In the video game, we learn the dwergi were not created by Dracula, so maybe whoever created them also created werewolves. That's my video about the werewolves from Van Helsing. This movie has unique supernatural creatures, an over-ambitious but very interesting story, and creative design. I've talked about Van Helsing in the past, but I've never done a full deep dive into the werewolves, and that's always been one of my favorite parts of the film. I think the werewolf design is originally what made me like Van Helsing and Underworld so much as a kid. If you're interested in Van Helsing, I made a video explaining the complete timeline of the film that spans back thousands of years. It's kinda crazy that this movie can leave so many unanswered questions, but still be so entertaining. Similar to the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. We never find out about Gabriel's past sins that led him to being found on the steps of the church. We also never find out the history between Dracula and Gabriel, or why he would keep his ring centuries later. I dive into a bunch of theories about that and what clues we get from the video games, so like I said, if you're interested, I'll have that on screen and in the description. I'm currently working on a few videos including the top 5 oldest werewolves, because I noticed a lot of you wanted to see that. I have to say, finding ancient werewolves is a lot harder than finding old vampires, so if you have any suggestions for the oldest werewolves, let me know. I could use your help on this one. If there's any other movies, TV shows, or videos you want me to cover, please leave them in the comments below. I always read through them. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. It helps out a lot and I really appreciate it. As always, an extra big thanks to my members for supporting the channel. It means a lot. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.